by saying that women tend to struggle more with making plans for the future than men, with dreaming of something big. And I'd like to address this specific point today. And I want to start with information that is probably known to all of you, and which demonstrates challenges women face in pursuing their personal and professional goals. And I think first is the obvious wage gap, where nationally, but also in Indiana, women make less than men. Here's the Indiana example. In Indiana, women make 27 cents less per dollar than a man does, really just because they're women. If they also happen to be African American or Hispanic, that number actually grows. Hispanic women in Indiana, on average, make nearly half as much as men do. Another indicative parameter is childcare. Here is a nice table of the percentage of 4-year-olds enrolled in state pre-Ks. It's 0% in Indiana, because Indiana simply does not have such a program, but in 40 out of 50 states, less than half of the 4-year-olds get preschool funded by the state. Now I know, some of you probably think, what's it to me? You know, I'm only in college, I don't really have a 4-year-old. Why should I actually care about this? It's not going to happen anytime soon, but I think you should be concerned about this, because private preschools are actually expensive. It's anywhere from $7,000 to $20,000 a year, sometimes more. And that means that for many parents, they can just not afford to send their child to pre-K. And that means that they either send that child part-time or not at all, and one of the parents has to give up his or her career, and guess who it usually is? That's right, because the men usually make more money. And then there's the issue, one of my favorites, is paid maternity. Very nice. This is a very fitting term for the US, in fact, because not only don't we get any maternity days paid, but when we have children, and that of course puts us far behind third world countries, as you can see, when we have children, we actually have to pay our employer for the cost of health insurance when we take time off from work and don't get paid. You see, federal law provides for 3 months of paid maternity whenever a woman gives birth, but actually you have to pay your employer for the right to take time off unless your employer is particularly generous. So I know we have all sorts of different views about the role of our government in our lives and whether the state should provide such benefits, but the fact is that not having paid maternity affects the ability of many women to launch promising careers and have families at the same time. It puts women at a considerable disadvantage compared to men, and leaves many women who aren't wealthy or high middle class with really the unfair choice of career versus motherhood. Let's look at health issues too. I think women stand at a considerable disadvantage when we look at health issues, such as access to reproductive health. This is a term that has gotten quite a bit of bad rep in certain circles, but really all it means is just access to services that would keep women healthy. If we look at Planned Parenthood, this is a good example. It's a network of clinics for women. Most people think all they do is abortions, but in fact, abortions account, as you can see here, for only 3% of what they do. Each time a clinic is closed, women who are poor and on Medicaid, and that's the majority of their clients, they're deprived of life-saving services and the ability to plan when to have children, and therefore have less control over their overall health. And I think the connection between health and being successful is quite evident. Perhaps more relevant to all of us in this room is education. Even if you can't directly connect to everything I've said so far, think carefully about the educational system in which all of you were brought up. In the typical classroom, boys speak up more than girls. Therefore, their voice is heard and their opinions actually matter. Those of the girls, not so much. Teachers and school counselors, even women, encourage boys more than girls to speak up, to invest in schoolwork, to apply to top colleges, and to pursue meaningful and fulfilling careers. More than once I've talked to female students who were at the top of their class in high school, but their advisors recommended just that one large state university as the best option for them because they were the best in their class. But guys from the high school who were not nearly as good academically were advised to pursue private elite universities. Out-of-state universities, of course. And the trend really continues in college and in real life. Female students don't participate as much as male students do in class, even if they are the majority. Ask any professor who teaches smaller classes than this one at Ball State, they'll acknowledge that this is true. A recent study has actually found that in political gatherings, such as town hall meetings with political candidates, even if women are the majority of the participants, they speak much less than men, and their questions get a far less detailed answer from the candidate than the men's question, even if the candidate is a woman. Now, personally, I've seen those male-female discrepancies in my work too. As many of you already know, I often talk to my students about their dreams and aspirations. I've done this with some of you, and I've discussed this issue with hundreds of students over the years, and the statistics are quite grim. Of the students who indicated that they actually know what they wanted to do after college, men outnumbered women by a ratio of 5 to 1. And their plans are almost always more ambitious. I think my impression is that men tend to slightly overestimate their abilities, but women to considerably underestimate them. And this is the outcome of the structural inherent discrimination of women built into our society through institutions and customs and laws that, guess what, are almost always created by men. The good thing is that we can change all of that. All of us, everyone sitting in this room, men and women, just by being here, you have been given a wonderful chance to make something of yourselves, to succeed beyond your imagination, to break that glass ceiling and show the world that the woman who comes from a small town in Indiana or a mid-sized Midwestern city can actually go to a top graduate school, has a shot in the big world outside of this place, and can actually be not the person working for the lawyer, doctor, or manager, but actually the lawyer, doctor, or manager. You have to start believing. I think you need to be a little more ambitious about your dreams. And if you can't do it on your own, you need to find someone who will take you there. A mentor, for instance. It's not going to be easy because many of the women sitting in this room have been told, more implicitly than explicitly, that getting that ordinary, decent job after college is the best they can do because it's better than what everyone else in their family has always been doing. That their ambitions can really not extend beyond launching a modest, stable, unchanging, and relatively unambitious career with a steady income and a family. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong about having a family. It's wonderful if that's what you really want, but I'd like to believe that most women sitting in this room want to do something greater than this and still have a family, of course, if given the chance. But that's the thing. Don't wait to be given the chance. Take the chance. Fight our society's structural inequalities that leave women behind. Choose the right major for you. Have the right people on your side. Do well in school. Apply to the best graduate programs and attend them. Seek the best job. Be socially and politically active. And elect candidates, vote for candidates who actually care about women, regardless of sex or political party. You don't have to wait, by the way, till you're finished with college to actually make a difference. You know, there's actually a burning issue that's affecting every one of you, and men too, by the way, right now, right here on this campus and on almost all other college campuses in America, and there's a lot you can do about it to change it. But that's what I want to talk about next week, so thank you very much and have a nice week.